Good day once again. Continuation. Collision Regulations of 1972 or International Regulations for Avoiding Collisions at Sea. Captain RODIENPACA. Today, rule number 8. Action to avoid collision. What are those actions according to the rules? Then let's start. Rule number 8. Any action to avoid collision shall be taken in accordance with the rules of this part and shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, be positive, made in ample time, and with due regards to the observance of seamanship. Okay, keywords. Action to avoid collision must be positive, meaning it is very clear, it is bold that you are taking the action. Any vessel in front of you should be able to identify and understand that you are taking the action to avoid collision. Positive, made in ample time with due regards of good seamanship. The animations I have here is very clear. It should be positive, it should be ample time, and let me elaborate. The animation would show that first, it is very clear that the red side light is being seen. Then it is suddenly from green to red sunlight. So if you are the stand-on vessel, you could see first the green and you could see the red. It is clear, it is positive, and with ample time. Any alterations, of course, okay? Any alteration, of course, to avoid collision shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, be large enough, huge enough, okay? Be large and huge enough to be readily apparent to any vessel observing visually by radar. A succession of small alterations of course and or speed should be avoided. Okay. If you are really to avoid collision, it should be very clear. The action should be very clear. The alteration should be apparent. It should be large enough. If you're gonna change your speed, it should be large enough to be obvious to the other vessel that you are reducing your speed. If you're altering your course, the course should be huge enough that there will be no doubts from other vessels that you are altering or changing your course. Rule number 8, Charlie. If there is sufficient sea room, alteration of course alone may be the most effective action to avoid a close quarter situation, provided that it is made in good time, is substantial, and does not result in another close quarter situation. Okay, let me do the animations and let me explain this one. The animation will show that the avoidance is being made in ample time. The avoidance is being made while the distance is still very far. And it is very clear that from the other vessel that you are really avoiding a close quarter situation. It should be huge enough. Now, the animation, for example, it's very obvious to the vessel that you are altering course, because in the distance far before you're already altering your course. You're changing your course already. And it is avoiding the close quarter situations. Rule number 8 again. The change of course is preferable to change of speed. Okay? Because it is more obvious. Unless it will result on another quarter situation. What does this mean? Okay? This is very easy. The change of course, if you are on the other vessel, it's very apparent compared to the change of speed. Again, the change of course is very apparent compared to the change of speed. Why? You are altering your course. So you will take actions to avoid situations, to avoid risk of collisions or close quarter situations. However, a change of speed may be not so understandable right away by the other vessel. This, the rule stipulates, this is what it means. Rule 8, delta. Action to avoid collision with another vessel shall be in such as to result in passing at a safe distance. The effectiveness of action shall be carefully checked until other vessel is finally passed and clear. The animations would show there should be a safe distance until it is passed and clear. The animation also show that the action must result in passing in safe distance. Action to avoid collision, rule number 8. Echo. If necessary, to avoid collision or allow more time to assess the situations, a vessel shall slacken her speed or take all her way off, meaning by stopping or reversing her means of propulsion. If necessary, a vessel shall slow or stop the vessel. Okay, again. To avoid collision if necessary, especially in restricted visibility, hearing a fog signal as far as this animation would go, you slack your speed. And if slacking speed is not enough to avoid the risk of collision, you must stop, or what we call take all way off, or even reversing. This is the rule number 8, echo, talking about. Under Echo 1, it says, a vessel which by any of these rules is required not to impede the passage or safe passage of another vessel shall, when required by the circumstances of the case, take early action to allow sufficient sea room for the safe passage of another vessel. Again, an alternative course will be more effective than a change of speed in order to avoid overtaking vessel approaching from astern. Okay, so this is a very, very unique situation. Now, an alternation of course will be more effective than change of speed to avoid an overtaking vessel approaching from astern or the quarter which fails to keep away. So, this animation would show two variations of the vessel on the port side. This one, it could go on, she could go on, or she could alter course. But it is more effective as far as possible. She already altered her course in the port side. This is very clear. Why should you go to the north when we could alter already to the northwest? As far as this animation would show. Okay? Take early action to have sufficient sea room. And the second, it says a vessel required not to impede the passage of the another vessel or safe passage is not relieved of this obligation if approaching the other vessel so as to involve the risk of collision, and shall when taking action have full regard to the action which may be required by the rules of this part. Even you are a stand-on vessel, you're not required by law to take immediate action to avoid collision, but still you have the obligation, and that obligation is to avoid the risk of collision if the action taken is not good enough. This animation will show the change of course is also preferable to change of speed because it is more obvious. This is a very different presentation, but involving three vessels, unless it will result in another further situation. So we have made various situations, various animations for you to see and analyze, because different situations can happen at sea. So as much as possible, I am presenting different options of presentations. Okay. 3. Avoid action to avoid collision, rule 8. It says in 3, a vessel, the passage in which is not to impede remains fully obliged to comply with the rules of this part when the two vessels are approaching to one another so as to involve the risk of collision. Okay, so the vessel, that this passage which is not to be impeded remains fully obliged to comply with the rules of this part when the two vessels are approaching to one another so as to involve risk of collisions. Again, this is a better way of saying that if the situations, if the alterations, if the reduction of speed would not be enough to take away the risk of collision or the close quarter situations, still the stand-on vessel or the vessel which the passage which is not to be impeded still have the obligation to avoid the risk of collision. Action to avoid collision, rule number 8. Colregs 72. This is part B, which is steering and sailing. Mariners, next time I'm gonna discuss about rule number 9, which is narrow channel. Happy sailing! Again, this is Captain RODIEN PACA.